Hi, welcome into my studio. My name is Jason Morgan. I'm a wildlife artist, and on this video I'm going to be doing a pastel demonstration and a new surface for me. I'm going to be using Pastelbord by Ampersand, and the one I'm actually using is toned grey, and it came like that. You can get them white or in just a couple of limited colours. Now the surface feels very similar to my favourite surface, which is Pastel Matte by Clairefontaine, so I've got high expectations for it. The benefit is it's a complete rigid board, so it's about 5mm thick. You can see on the back then it's compressed board. You can put wet media on there or dry media, so that means we're open to being able to actually tone the board. So if you buy them in white, you can actually put a burnt sienna tone or something like that over it in acrylic, let it dry, and then put your pastels on top. So I'm really excited to see how it performs, to see if it'll take as many layers as my usual pastel matte, and to see if I can get that sharp detail. So let's take a look and see how it goes. My drawing's down on the board already, and I'm blocking in the darks because I like to keep things simple and give myself the best chance of getting things right, and that's why I'm doing this under drawing. Now I do the same with oil painting, so being under painting then, but basically what I'm doing is putting in all the darks and all the mid-tones, and that's going to give me a nice dark underlayer, because remember, things like cats and animals that got lots of fur, there's lots of depth in that fur. Now to create that, whether it's with paints or whether it's with pastels, you need to get layers on your drawing surface. Now that then gives the depth for the fur and makes it look much more believable and much more real. So that's why I'm getting in a nice dark underdrawing, because that's going to allow me to then overlay my lighter and my mid-tones on top. And that's one of the benefits of pastels, and also with paints like oils. You can overlay these lights on top as I'm doing now. Now with coloured pencil, you can't really do that easily at all. You've got to, kind of reserve the whites and work negatively and draw around it. And that's the real reason I fell in love with doing pastels. It's so much easier that I find than coloured pencils, because we can do that layering of light over dark, which makes sense to me, because when you think about fur, the lighter layers are on the outer area usually of the fur where it's catching the sunlight. So it makes absolute sense to work from dark to light. You're following what happens in nature. With coloured pencil you need to reserve those lights, because you can't do the light over the dark. So much easier. But when I first started pastels years ago, I had 1 or 2 attempts at it and it was a disaster because I had the wrong paper. So check out my YouTube videos on papers and why I recommend to use a sanded paper, because these techniques just will not work on flat paper with no tooth to it at all. So you can see how I've gone from that darker layer, I've overlaid my lights, and now I'm on the right hand side doing exactly the same technique. Blending with my finger, because I find this Ampersand board blends very easily if you like a soft appearance. But usually I use, on pastel matte paper, I use the Derwent soft paper stumps to do my blending, initially on the first layers anyway, and that was a bit too harsh. It was blending too much on this board. So you can see how easily it is to do the eyes and to get that highlight on top, which really brings it to life. And now I'm using more of an ochre coloured pencil and darks as well to build that texture, to do that layering, always making sure my pencil's going in the fur direction and that I'm not filling up all of the background layer, so I'm not creating just blocks of a solid colour. As I'm doing more detail, I'm using pencils that have been sharpened to a nice sharp point, and personally I use a crank handle sharpener to do that, but you can also use a sharp handheld sharpener, or even a safety blade if you wanted to go that way, because lots of pastel artists do that as well. Increasing the darkness in areas and then coming in now with the real bright highlights, and that's going to make it look much more punchy. It's increasing the contrast a lot. And remember, if you wanted to see a slowed down version of this, over on my Patreon art channel, there's about 500 members now, and they're all enjoying the rewards I have over there. Lots and lots of full-length videos. Some are 8 hours long. This cat one's going to be on there right now, and that's going to be a two-parter series, and it's going to be roughly 2 hours long. So you can imagine it's much more slowed down. I've always got my voiceover on there, giving lots and lots of tips and instruction on my videos, so you can learn from my past experience, my 20 years experience, and really jump ahead in your techniques, because of course you don't have to make the mistakes that I've made over the 20 plus years, because pastels especially are a very, very forgiving medium. They're really easy. They're much more easy than coloured pencils and things like watercolour, in my opinion. Very, very forgiving medium. Now I'm starting to add the real final details. So I came back in with a nice sharp black pencil, and now I'm coming in with the lighter tones as well. Always going in that fur direction, using that little piece of paper at the bottom to rest my hand on, just so that I'm not smudging anything I've already worked on. Just a few touches and highlights here and there to the eyes, just to make them that little bit more real. And then finally the whiskers. Hope you've enjoyed the video.